Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Jackie Unterline and I'm the Media and Outreach Manager here at GuideStar. We're excited to have you all join us as we share 7 secrets and tips to a successful GuideStar nonprofit profile, and as we walk you through obtaining the seals of transparency, from bronze all the way to platinum. So before I turn it over to my colleague, I wanted to take some extra time to go through logistics. To submit a question through GoToWebinar, just look in the control panel off to the side of your screen. You'll find a questions box there, and you just type your question and send away. If you only see the questions header but not the box, select the arrow to the left to enable the questions box. We'll be available during this hour to answer any questions you have, and our hope is to answer all of your questions today during the event. But if we're unable to get to any of them, rest assured that we'll reach out to you directly with an answer to get you pointed in the right direction. So send any and all questions our way. Before we dive in, we're curious to hear from you. How many of you are familiar with the $5,000 grant opportunity for Platinum Superstars? Please take a second to take this quick poll. Perfect. So it seems like it's new to most of you. Just make sure you stay tuned until the end of the webinar and you can find out more information. And at this point, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Jasmine Morrow, who's the Director of Nonprofit Strategy here at GuideStar. Jasmine's been instrumental in helping to ensure the seals of transparency help you as nonprofits share your full story, and is the perfect person to walk us through the workshop today.
All right, thanks so much, Jackie. I'm really excited to chat with you guys today. I really just enjoy sharing what the nonprofit profiles can do for you. So we'll not only cover the nuts and bolts today of how your profile can reach a bigger audience, but we'll also talk about information that donors crave and just the logistics of how to move through the process. And I'll also get to some practical tips about how you can maximize your profile's potential. So many of you might know that GuideStar has a very large audience in and of itself just to GuideStar.org. So there are 7 million annual visitors to GuideStar.org, and then research shows that the vast majority of those visitors are going directly to profile pages. So they're looking specifically at your organization's work. And not only that, but we also have a large social media presence. And so that, paired with our GuideStar visitors, can get you quite a wide reach, but that's not the whole story. So it doesn't stop there. GuideStar profiles are also powering the philanthropy of hundreds of other apps and websites and donation platforms in our network. So partners like Facebook and crowdsourcing sites are showing your profile to their donors as well. So you can stop here at guidestar.org, make one change to your profile, and it is filtering out and rippling out into tons of other donor-based profiles and sites. So you've completed your profile information, and now it's available to tens of millions of people, and that's incredibly exciting. But it can also be intimidating too. A lot of the time, you just wish that you could kind of lift the hood on see what donors are thinking, right? And sometimes you're making your organization's value clear, just wanting to make sure that all of that is thought through. And so I can't give you quite the level of insight of peering directly into a brain, but I'd love to share some of our research that shows how you can optimize your profile for better reach to donors. So a 2015 study from Money for Good, and that's a study that monitors donor behavior, identified this as the top list of donor concerns. These are common concerns, and they're easily remedied from both your own website and then, of course, your guidestar.org profile, which many donors check for legitimacy purposes. And the majority of these concerns can be just tied right back to making sure that your organization appears legitimate and that you're sharing information about your programs and your choices. And so I also wanted to point you to this adjacent set of research. So Similarly, individual donors, financial advisors, and foundations are all looking at your organization's financial health, your effectiveness, and your mission, vision, and leadership. And all of these are covered throughout the different profile levels that I'll share with you later, but it's just really nice to see what donors are caring about and the ways that you can push forward your information to make that possible. So what that leads us to is, of course, the GuideStar nonprofit profile, and that's where it comes in and how we want to be of help to your organizations. So this quote comes from Nonprofit Quarterly, and it sums up the role really nicely. Your organization's public online presence, just like LinkedIn and Facebook, GuideStar profile is that. So it is where people are looking to discover information about your organization. And so regardless of whether or not your organization has updated its profile, you very likely already have one. So without your help, all that shows is your financial story. And that's not great looking. It just looks pretty empty. And what we'd rather is that you be able to share your full and robust story about all of the work that you're doing. So the profile gives nonprofits the capability to understand donors the capability to understand your profile through our transparency program. So it's completely free and it's open to any nonprofit, and it helps organizations to manage their information for funders and supporters, and not to mention GuideStar's 7 million annual viewers. So the way that it works is this sort of tiered system. Each level of transparency is a step in further telling your organization's full story, and more importantly, each step is completely free and very easy to achieve. And so I'm going to take a little bit of time to tell you a bit more about each one. The important thing to know here is that they build on each other. So in order to earn gold, you have to earn silver and bronze first, that kind of a thing. So the way that I like to talk about this is what the different levels achieve for you. So bronze is, you can think about that similar to the ways that people put an ad in the yellow pages or listing in the yellow pages. It's so that you can be found. You want to keep all of that contact information, leadership information completely up to date. Name change, address, those sorts of things. Silver is where you start to really push a little bit more and grow trust. So this is providing up-to-date financial information, just providing more transparency around that work, around that aspect of your organization. And then you want to describe your goals and strategies. And so this is so that you can tell other people about your work, so that you can start to articulate your strategies and your vision. And lastly, there's platinum. And so this is a relatively new level that we've added, and it's so that you can really articulate your progress and your results, and so you can show the difference that you're making in tangible, full numbers. And so those are all of the different pieces, and of course we'll walk through how that happens. So let's get started. I want to make this a pretty thorough demonstration. So I want to just walk you through what it looks like on the profile itself first, and then we'll also take a look at how those things can happen. So this is a GuideStar nonprofit profile, and this is what a fleshed out one looks like. A lot of things that we've thought about for this are the fact that one, front and center, so this section is the summary section of all kind of the quick bits of information that are important to know about an organization. And then top on the list are your programs. That's what really drives an organization, and that's what we always want to be forward-facing. And so when we redesigned the profiles, we kept that really strongly toward the forefront. So you can see here that this organization has taken some time to fill out their programs and really talked about their population served and the different categories of work, and they've also put some information here about their program description. It's important to note that you want to kind of grab folks in those first couple sentences because there is a read more link. So of course you can add more, but also know that it won't be immediately showing. So I'm going to scroll down a bit. You can also see on this right-hand side, you've got some extra information like social media links, like their funding needs, where they just really articulate more individual specific things they might need, and photographs. Those are incredibly important to just share your story. A picture's worth 1,000 words. So then we get on down into the results section. So this is where an organization can talk about their platinum work. So year over year, how are you articulating the work that you've done? And so these guys have done 1 year. You can do up to, you can do quite a few. I want to show you just another example where there are a few more. And that will be here. So you can do 1 year for just one, you can do a few years overall. But what's important there is that you are continuously coming back and not only sharing historical information, but also sharing your totals year to year. And so yeah, so this is just another example of having shown a couple of different kinds of metrics. Next that comes in the lineup is the charting impact question. So these are those gold questions that really articulate your mission and your vision. And you can see that this organization has kept it really short and sweet and kind of easily readable, and I can talk about some ways that you do that in a bit. But they kind of long form go into what you would think of as their theory of change, and that can be incredibly powerful. A little further down is the organization's financials. And these are both supplemented through the 990 and then also through self-reported information. And then, of course, there's operations. So sharing your executive director or your CEO's information, a short bio. I'll just wait for the screen to catch up with me. There's also sharing kind of board practices, which can be incredibly important for your transparency. And then, of course, there's sharing demographics information, which we can talk about in a bit, too. So this is the demographic breakdown of your paid and unpaid staff, which can be just really enlightening and just shows just a deeper level of transparency. So that's the long and short of what shows on the front end, what other people are seeing. And now I want to walk you through what it looks like to control some of this. So to claim your profile, and we're going to send you a quick video and some links so that you can get a better idea of this, but in order to claim your profile, it's just 3 quick steps. First, you want to either create or sign into your GuideStar account, then you confirm your email address, and then you just fill in a quick form with your organization's name and those sorts of things. And so we'll send a quick video, but just to keep things moving here, I want to just dive straight into showing you what it looks like to update your profile. So you can see I just went to update nonprofit profile, and because I'm all signed in, I just go directly to my organization. Give that a quick second to load. And here you can see this is kind of the summary page. I like to also think of this as a table of contents. So let me just give you a quick tour of what you're seeing here. Up top here is going to be your progress bar. So you'll always be able to see how far you are in particular sections, what level you're at currently, and what you might want to fill in. Then there's a quick section for if you want to make fast changes to, say, your address or something like that. Otherwise, you can always use the side navigation bar to hop to the different sections. So for now, I'm just going to click bronze and click that first one there, and now I can see all of the things that are available in the bronze section. So, of course, anything with an asterisk is required, and by required we mean required to earn the seal of transparency for that level, but it's a best practice to just always fill in as much as you can. A ton of our partners like PayPal, like other donor advised funds really like to see that information, so we try to encourage you to fill it in no matter what. So I'm going to scroll down through here. You can see that there's things like the leadership section that we talked about. I want to give you just a quick tip. So I want to scroll down to where the programs are. So here is, this is the board section, and you can also fill in your mission. A quick tip on the mission statement, you want to keep this as short as you can. So if you have, say, a long form mission statement that you use sometimes and then also kind of a quippier, quicker one, you want to use the quippier, quicker one. What you want is for it to always be really glanceable and for people to understand it really quickly. You'll have some time, especially in that gold section, to go more deep. So keep that, because it does show up just at the very top, you want to keep it brief. And so similar goes for your programs. So in your program section, you don't have a ton of space. So what you really want to do there is keep it like a short paragraph, no more than, say, 5 to 7 sentences in your description. And another thing that you might want to think about is that you can folks define programs in a ton of different ways. So if your organization has really articulated separate programs, absolutely put that. If you don't necessarily have that, or if that's not the way that you've put it, say, on your 990, that's fine. The ways that you'd like to represent your work is what you really want to go for there. So those are sort of the big important pieces on that section. So I want to skip over to Silver. So what I really want to do is give you guys a nice comprehensive view and some good tips. So the Silver section is where you talk about your organization's finances. You can do this in one of two ways. You can upload an audited financial statement, or if you don't have that for any reason, let's say you're a new organization, let's say you're a relatively small organization and haven't found it in your budget to pay for that yet, that's perfectly fine. So if you don't want to upload an audited financial, you can just fill in these sections here. It's one or the other. You don't have to do both, and you don't ever have to feel like one is better than the other. So then you'll just type in your finances here. You usually pull that actually either directly from your 990 or your organization's budget, or however that works for you. And that's where you will put that section. And so you want to come back here year over year and just keep updating that. So you want to keep this as fresh as you can. So also in this section is your funding needs statement. And here is it's a pretty free, open paragraph. You want to keep this short and sweet, and you really want to keep it specific. So if your organization is doing a capital gains campaign, talk about what that campaign is and what your goal is. If you would like some particular in-kind donations, talk about that. If you're raising money for a specific, what you want to use this for is a tangible section. So that's kind of a best practice in using that space. So now I want to take you guys to the gold section. So I've got a couple of tips and tricks for the gold section overall. The gold section, like I mentioned, is where you really want to dig deep into your organization's, more or less, your theory of change. How will you articulate your work? And there are 5 questions that aim to help you to think about that. So what is your organization aiming to accomplish? What are your strategies for getting there? What are your capabilities for doing that? And how will you know? So what are your performance indicators, your progress indicators? And what have you accomplished so far and what's yet to come? So there's a couple of tips that I have for this. The first is to keep it simple. You have very likely done this already in a ton of different ways, so just kind of think about where you want to borrow for those things. The second is more of a logistic thing. So this text box is a no formatting text box. So when you're thinking about copying and pasting, you want to first put it in, say, a notes app, so that it removes all of that formatting. Otherwise, you still won't get formatting, but you will get some odd characters, right? So just to keep everything clean, you can drop that in. The one formatting thing that is here is the hard return, and you want to go ahead and use that to your advantage. So a lot of organizations have used a return to really kind of highlight and articulate some particular lines. So you can see here that what we really want people to see for a quick second is this top line that's important to us. So we put a big paragraph break in between. You can also use numbers in that way if you want to put big paragraph breaks and kind of, you obviously wouldn't be able to use bullets, but you could use numbers, and then you can make large breaks. It helps to break up the page a bit and helps people to really read it a lot more easily. So that's a good thing to think about as you're going through this. Another tip that I want to give you guys is I want to point you to this great resource on independent sector. So the charting impact questions were developed in partnership with independent sector and with the BBB Wise Giving Alliance. And these organizations together, GuideStar included, thought a lot about how you might think through these things and how they might be helpful both for this page and then also for your long-term work. So there are a ton of resources on the Independent Sector website, and we'll of course send a link, but it's independentsector.org/CI resources. And what you see here are not just tools and resources for each question, but also if you want to think about this specifically from, say, an arts and culture perspective, you can look at it through the perspective of genres. You can also think about this for using it once you've articulated these things in your charting impact questions, using them in your grant applications and taking that work and pushing it forward in a ton of different ways. They also have a great section called IS Member Reports where you can take a look at examples of other organizations charting impact questions, so the ways that they've articulated that. And this is just a simple search, so you can look either by sector or type in a specific organization's name. This isn't every organization that has filled out this report. These are organizations that are members of Independent Sector. But they're a great subset. So it's a nice way to take a look through these. So those are kind of the big gold tips that I wanted to give you. And now I want to take you on a quick tour of Platinum. So the Platinum section is, as I mentioned, the space where organizations really want to talk through their metrics that they collect. And like much of the rest of the profile, what you want to think about here is what you already collect and share. So this section here, these search results, are powered by our Common Results Catalog. So that was a couple of years of research and just pulling together what are the most common ways that organizations articulate their impact or their results of any kind, outputs, impacts, and all of those. And so we pulled them together to just be a great resource for you to think through. You're in no way obliged to use those, but you're always welcome to, and it can be a really great resource. So I want to show you first what the catalog itself looks like. So to do that, I'm just going to go to guidestar.org/platinum. I'm just going to scroll down a bit and get here to the Common Results Catalog. I'm just going to wait for the view to update for everybody just so you guys can all see it. Okay, and so then it says scan our Common Results Catalog. And you can click on this. You can also use this. You can print this on out and share it around a table, however it is that your organization will come to thinking about your various metrics that you want to share, feel free. But there's a table of contents here. And it divides up the common results in this, in some basic subsections. You can always feel free to use and browse any of these sections. Sometimes an organization that thinks about their work in terms of economic development can absolutely be using the same metrics as an organization that thinks about their work in terms of human rights or etc. So this is just a document to help you get oriented and to think through those things and maybe pull a pick list of 10 or 20 and then narrow it down, or however you'd like to do that. So once you've thought through that, or if you'd like to skip that, that's just fine too, you want to come over to the Platinum section and start your search process. So we wanted to really make this interactive in a ton of ways, and you can think through it in whatever ways make the most sense for you. So you can filter by these sections over here on the left. You can say, I'm working in the environment, and I'm looking specifically at capacity building, and pull just from those. Or, I'm going to reset, you can just start to type in keywords. So what if I wanted to work on youth? So you can see that youth is also cross-referenced with children, is also cross-referenced with adolescents. That way, if, we really want to help you find the piece that you're looking for. So I'm going to click this one, youth who demonstrate motivation to learn, and now that goes down in my selections. If I don't see what I'm looking for here, that's totally fine. I'll just click this add a metric, and then I just want to start typing. So number of webinars. So you can see here that what we do is we cross-reference a couple just in case you didn't quite happen to see what you were looking for. So number of field trips is a little bit similar, number of, all of those things. Otherwise, I can always just use my metric that I put in the first place, but it's a nice reminder that, maybe there's a couple that you missed. And once you've updated that, you want to just go over here and you're just clicking the next section, and that's where you'll start to put in your numbers. And you can see here that we've already put in a few, but I want to skip down to one that's blank so you can see what the process looks like. So I click this Add Details, and that's when you want to just start putting in information. It's a best practice to put in context, but you don't have to. Context can be anything from a definition of what you mean by that metric, or how this plays into your organization's larger work. You want to keep it short. It's only 200 characters long, but that's how that works. We default here to 3 years, but you can put in as many years back to the year 2000 as you'd like. And it's a best practice to put in as many as you can, because then you're really showing the historical context of your organization. So let's say you've got something for 2011, but something happened in 2012 and you just don't have that information. That's fine. You can skip that. And you can just put in information for the years that you have. It's also a best practice to tie these to a specific program if you can. If it's org-wide, that's just fine too, but if it's related to a program, it's really nice to be able to see that correlation. Similarly, you want to be able to show what populations this is connected to. So a graduation rate for troubled youth looks very different than a graduation rate for elders, right? So you want to just go ahead and name that in whatever way you want to. By selecting a population served, you can select more than one. So you can just keep going in whatever ways that makes sense. Also, something that we really like to do here is the display, right? So if you're ready to go right now, that's great, and we want you to be. But we also want you to feel comfortable. So if you need to pause for a minute and come back and check in on the numbers or how you're defining it, go ahead and click this No Do Not Display, and you can come back in a little while and update it, and then it'll display on your profile itself. So even if you hit Publish, if you hit No Do Not Display, it won't display. So that's another great thing to see here. And then this is kind of just your general dashboard. So you can see everything that is up right now or ready to be up on your profile from the Platinum section. So that's the long and short of the Platinum section. Another thing I wanted to share is just how useful the Common Results Catalog can be. We continue to grow the Common Results Catalog. So as folks put in custom metrics or as we find new sources of metrics, we do add. But also it's been, our research has shown that about 72% of the metrics that are shared are from the Common Results Catalog. So folks are really finding what they need here. So it's definitely worth a look. That way you can benchmark against yourself and your peers far more easily. So I'd highly recommend that you do that. So now I just want to talk to you really quickly about images and how you put that in. So you want to go to this social and media outreach section, and you can click photos, videos, or any of these pieces. And I'm largely just wanting to show you where it is and how easy it is to do. So all you'll do is go down here and click the upload. There's of course some resolution size restrictions and things like that. And then of course it's a really great idea to just click video, to put videos in. And so all that you'll do for that is provide a link, say YouTube or Vimeo, those kinds of things. And then of course there's your social media handles. So remember that it's your handle and not the whole URL, which is different than if you're putting in your website, then you really do want to put in the whole URL. But those are the long and short for that, and I just really would encourage you guys to add images. It really helps to flesh out what you're talking about. So that's it for the demo, and now I want to just pop back and share a few more tips, tricks, and secrets with you guys. So the first is that your profile needs to be claimed. Otherwise, it's pretty bare. So you want to claim it, and you want to just go as far as you can. It's very easy to get all the way up to platinum, and it's totally worth it. We've recently discovered that gold and platinum profiles get twice as much attention from users, so user views, as those without seals at all. So that's just a really nice incentive for getting more eyes on your page and having it say the things that you want to. The next is to borrow, don't invent. So all of those text sections, like your program descriptions, like your gold section, you've very likely written about that somewhere else before. So I'd recommend that you search your own website, that you look at grant applications, maybe your annual report, and pull language from there. And of course, feel free to edit it, but we want this to lack burden for you. And your organization has, of course, thought through how you want to talk about this work. So what you really want to do is kind of mine for that. Next, you want to just think about the fact that a ton of text will not necessarily get your idea better articulated, because people tend to glance. So less is more. You want to just keep things really brief, and you want to use creative formatting to break up text whenever you can. And of course, more is more for pictures. A picture is worth 1,000 words, so spend your words there. And the same is true for data. And because the Platinum section does that nice data visualization, and you'll be able to really clearly articulate in kind of an image format your metrics year over year, that's a great place to spend some time. Excuse me. Next is the link it. So what I want to articulate there is just that your GuideStar profile is an incredibly important part of your overall online presence. And so because it can go to so many organizations in your network, or in our network, just making sure that it's both up to date, and then also don't be afraid to link to it, right? So there's widgets that you can use. There's also, plenty of ways to just go ahead and share that document of record with other folks. The next thing I want to encourage you to do is to check two very easy boxes, and I can show you a quick demo of it later if anybody is curious about where they are. There are two. So one is to opt into that great network that I've been telling you guys about. So that's how your information travels to all of the different donor websites and apps that we power. You need to opt into that. So check that box. And then the other box that you want to check is the donation box. So it's a really great, easy, passive donation stream. So if you check it, that a box is enabled on your GuideStar profile that any individual can just click and send money your way. And lastly, just to keep it fresh. So anytime there are changes in your organization, you want to just check back in and update that on your profile. So it's a nice practice just to think about it quarterly and come back in. If nothing's changed, don't have to worry about it. And if something has changed, then you've just got one or two quick changes to make instead of a huge overhaul in a year. So that's a nice way to think about that. And so now I just want to transition to talking more about what this does for you. So a big part of the GuideStar profile and the fact that it exists is that we're a trusted space. So this helps to build your identity online, and also with an organization of record. So this is not only great for small organizations that might not have their own web presence as strongly as they'd like, it's also great for larger organizations to just reflect back the work that you have put into, say, your own website and those kinds of things. This is a more valid source. Not more valid, but it is another valid source. Also increasing visibility because of our large network. And of course it helps you to save time. So you can put your information in here once, and then all of those critical places that are incredibly important for you to show up, like Amazon Smile, like Facebook, those will all ripple out. It also is just this great way to demonstrate your organization's commitment to transparency. And so what that really means is that you're not only invested in the work that you're doing, but you're invested in making sure that your stakeholders better understand it. And that is incredibly important in our sector. And of course, showing your progress and results can show the difference that you make. We really want to be able to put numbers in front of donors that matter. So what you don't want is folks thinking about your overhead as a proxy for the work that you do. It's much stronger to share the work that you do. And so this gives you a great platform to do that. So another really cool benefit, so we teased about this a bit in the very beginning, and I just want to draw your attention to it now. You guys have been patiently waiting. I'd love to tell you more about this $5,000 grant opportunity. It's a great way to honor hardworking individuals in the sector. So organizations that are at Platinum can apply for this grant, and the idea is that we are offering a $5,000 grant to an individual, so not to the organization as a whole, but to any person in your organization who you'd like to honor in that way. And there's more information at npo.gs Superstar Award, but it's just a great way to think about the work that you do and rewarding the folks who do that work. And we're happy to answer any other questions that you might have about it. And so now I just want to wrap up and open things up for questions overall.
Thank you, Jasmine. So I've been monitoring the questions box, and we've seen a ton of great questions coming in. So now we can just use the remainder of the time and go through as many as possible. And again, if we do not get to your question, we will follow up individually. So I've seen a lot of questions from newer nonprofits, starting out asking, if they're brand new, just started over the past couple months, and aren't yet in the IRS BMF, how can they get a GuideStar profile?
So that's a great question. So in order to get a GuideStar profile, you can just reach out to our stakeholder support department, and we are happy to provide a link for that. And they'll help you, as long as you've got your letter of determination, they'll help you get a profile on GuideStar and get started. You don't have to wait to show up in the BMF.
And along the same line, what do you do if you don't have an audited financial statement but still want to get through Silver?
That's a great question. So it's always an either or. So if you don't have an audited financial, that's just fine. But you do have to have a year's worth of finances. So once you have that year's worth of finances, whether it's just on paper for your organization or you filed a 990 already, go ahead and just put it in those slots. We have a space for revenue and income, expenses, those sorts of things. And you're just going to go ahead and fill that in. You don't have to worry about uploading the audited financial if you don't have one.
Perfect. So a couple organizations were saying that this is, they're trying to come in and claim their profile and update it because someone else who has previously left their organization used to do it. So how can they get access to their profile?
So that's a great question, and I'm going to answer that kind of in two parts. One, it's perfectly fine to claim for an individual to claim your profile more than once. So if somebody else used to do it, you can still go through the claim process. It's very quick. It takes maybe about 5 minutes to fill in the application itself, and at most 2 days to get approved, but usually a ton less. So go ahead and go through that process. And that also brings me to a best practice. So because folks in an organization tend to either come and go or just be very busy, it's a really great idea to always add a couple of folks onto the manager list for your organization. So GuideStar has 15 people who manage the GuideStar profile. And we think that's a really good number because different folks who are in charge of different pieces of the profile can always hop in. If anyone's busy, we can make those quick changes. Also, it's a nice idea to include an info@ email, so info@guidestar.org, so that way there's always just a general address that information can come to.
Perfect, thank you. So what tools and kind of resources do you recommend for an organization who wants to sit down, claim their profile, and go as far as they can, ideally to Platinum?
That's a great question. So on the GuideStar website there are, and I can just show you really quickly since I've got my screen up, there are some kind of nice quick tips. There's also a resources page that we can share, um, but you want to just start out with things like your, like pull up your website, pull up your 990, um, pull up any kind of annual report, those sorts of things. And for some reason mine is not pulling up. But there's a great list that we can share with you that's on our resources page, and that'll help you to be able to sit down and just blow through it, which shouldn't take you very long at all. If you have everything, all your pieces kind of already in a row, it shouldn't take you more than a couple hours to get from 0 all the way up to platinum.
And since you kind of walked through the two boxes to select, can you give us like a quick demo?
Sure. So, there you go. So what you want to do is when you go to your GuideStar page, or sorry, yeah, when you go to edit your profile, in this confirm and publish section, and I'll just wait for the view to catch up just in case. It seems to be going a little slow. So in this confirm and publish section, you'll see just a quick set of things that you need to check off. And here they are for sharing. So yes, I want donors to be able to give to my organization through partners. This is enabling your place in the network. And then this is updating the donate button. It's pretty quick and easy. So all you do is go to this confirm and publish section right up top here, and then you're in. And then you just hit finish and publish.
And while you're still kind of in the demo phase, Jasmine, there have been a couple questions. How can I share my seal of transparency on my own profile? Can you walk us through?
That's a great question. Sure. So this is just, thanks for updating. So I'm going to just hop back to that section. So if you go to the benefits and rewards section, which is just right up top there, I'm just going to wait for this screen to catch up. So in the benefits and rewards section, there is something called the Outreach Toolkit. So this not only has the nice widget that you can use, it also has some great test language to use. So I'm going to go to Get the Kit. Test language to use, say, for tweeting about it, for sharing it in your newsletter, those kinds of things. So this is what that Outreach Toolkit looks like. And also here is the widget. So I'm just going to hit Get the Participation Logo and Widget, which is right here. And the way that you do that, it's just a line of code. So you want to copy and paste this line of code into where you make updates to your website. Individually, this sometimes is in different places, but you just want to contact your webmaster, and it's just a quick line of code. And what it does is when somebody clicks on it, so it automatically populates this seal of transparency onto your website, and when somebody clicks on it, they go directly to your organization's profile on GuideStar.org.
Great, thank you. A couple more questions have come in saying they knew they used to have a seal, but it must have expired, so how can they earn their seal back?
That's a great question. So it is very easy to earn your seal back. Just go back on into your profile and update it. So any things that have changed, any, if your financial information is up to date, things like that, go ahead and update it and hit publish. So just so that folks are aware, your profile is good for 2 years. So we always want your profile to be reflecting the most fresh and up-to-date information. So if you have a seal of transparency now, but haven't updated in a while, just go ahead back in so that you don't have to worry about expiring. But 2 years since the last time you made changes.
And others have asked if they know they can fill out a couple questions in gold but aren't ready to knock out silver, are they still able to kind of jump ahead, or is that not allowed?
So that's not allowed. So you really want to build on the stair steps. So you can answer the gold questions at any time, and we highly encourage you to, but you won't earn the gold seal of transparency until you complete bronze and you complete silver, and the same with platinum. So if your financials are not quite ready, if it's a question of not having an audited financial, don't worry about that. Just go ahead and fill those numbers in. If you haven't been around for quite long enough, contact us and maybe we can think about it together, but otherwise you can just wait a bit.
And about platinum, some people have been asking, is there a minimum number of metrics to share, and others have been asking, is there a maximum number? So what do you recommend?
So the minimum is 1, so you just need to share 1 and 1 year within that, and you're on your way. So we really want to set the bar so that people can just start sharing that information. So that's the first one. The sweet spot, depending on the size of your organization, is going to vary a bit, but I really like to encourage folks to put in around 5, maybe 10, so that you're sharing kind of a nice range of what your organization is doing and tracking. Within each of those, again, you want to share as many metric year over year as you can, but definitely try to hit those 3 if you can. And then as far as maximum goes, it's 20. So you can't share any more than 20 metrics, but usually folks kind of hit that saturation point around 10 anyway.
And do you have any kind of tools or resources that someone can look through to figure out what metrics to share for platinum?
Absolutely. So I mentioned the Common Results Catalog. That's going to be your best bet. And we can, of course, share a link for that. What's really nice about that is that it's already kind of vetted by experts in the sector and those sorts of things. And it's also just a nicely organized way to think through it with your colleagues. So those are going to be some really nice resources. And of course, feel free to take a look at other organizations' platinum profiles. So you can just look at the search and take a look through.
And so this is kind of going back to more of the claiming the profiles and questions around that. What do you do if your email address is not the same as your org website?
Good question. So it is much easier to claim your profile if your email address matches. So what that means is that our organization's website is GuideStar.org, and my email address is jasmine.morrow@guidestar.org. That's much easier, but it is not impossible to claim it without it. So as long as you are, say on your organization's staff page, that's going to be a nice, easy way to claim it. If you're on the 990, that's even easier. So there's definitely ways to go about it. And then otherwise, if those kind of quick, easy steps aren't being met, you can absolutely contact our stakeholder support team, and they'll work with you to make sure that you're able to claim the profile.
Perfect. And so are there online guides to kind of walk you through completing each profile section?
That is a great question. So let me just show you guys the GuideStar community really quickly. There are a ton of resources here with quick guides on updating particular parts. So just community.guidestar.org, and there's just a nice array of different sections that'll show you everything from how to update your profile overall to how to change your organization's name, those kinds of things. So feel free to check that out.
And so once you're working through bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, how long does it take for you to earn each seal of transparency? And then how long does it take to actually reflect and show your seal on your profile?
So every organization is different, but in general, it can take a very short amount of time. So bronze, being just basic information, shouldn't take you more than, say, 15 minutes. Silver, about the same. Gold and platinum, because they're a little bit more robust and you want to think through them in some different ways, maybe about a half an hour for each of those, and that's if you've got all your ducks in a row and just kind of want to think about how to articulate those. As far as showing up on your profile, it can take up to 24 hours for the change to be visible on your profile itself. Usually it's a lot shorter than that, but because everything just needs to sync, sometimes it can take a bit longer.
Perfect. And so what would you say is kind of your number one value or kind of selling point about getting to platinum versus just staying at bronze? Why should a nonprofit take the time to share their metrics?
Oh man, I have so many selling points for that, but let me try to condense it to a couple. One is because you will get simply more views on more eyes are on your work when you're at a higher level, and that's really exciting. The other is that bronze is a really great way to get your basic information out there, your name, your address, those kinds of things. But once you're up to platinum, you're really articulating your organization's work in a very robust way, in a way that you're not just going to get by updating your address, right? So by the time you're at bronze, you've shared your organization's mission, your vision, you've also articulated the work that you're doing and how you're growing year over year, and that can be incredibly powerful. It's especially one of the things that, as I've mentioned, that donors want to see is your effectiveness, and that's the best way to do that.
So we really only have time for one or two more questions, so I'm going to try to get through as many as possible. But someone who's familiar with GuideStar nonprofit profiles is asking how sharing diversity data or board information relates to the seals of transparency.
Great question. So those sit outside of the seals of transparency overall. So I hope you guys can see my screen. The diversity information is right down here. And it's a great practice, but it will not it doesn't pull you any closer or further from earning a seal of transparency. But it is a very strong best practice, and we like to encourage it. What it does is it just shows the diverse makeup of your organization's board, your full-time and part-time staff, and your leadership, which can be so powerful, especially in just moving the sector forward as a whole. The same goes with board leadership. It's really about kind of sharing your organization's best practices, but it doesn't reflect specifically on your bronze, silver, gold, or platinum seals of transparency.
And a couple other questions are back to asking where can they learn more information about the Platinum Superstar opportunity?
So that's a great question. So I just want to direct you to this website here. So I'm just going to put it in the browser so you can see what it looks like. But GuideStar NPO Superstar Award, and we can absolutely send out a link to this as well. But that's going to give you more information on how to nominate someone, how to update yourself, the dates, eligibility, all of those sorts of things.
Perfect, thank you. And so the final question, which we've seen a lot of, is how much does a profile cost?
I love to answer this question. Free, free, free. All of it is completely free. We're a nonprofit ourselves, and we really just want to help the sector move forward in transparency in a ton of different ways. So any time you want to update your profile to any level, all of it is completely free.
Perfect. So before we dive into the very last minute housekeeping items, Jasmine, do you have any closing thoughts to share?
So, no, I don't think that I have any more thoughts to share now.
We've covered a lot today.
We have.
Perfect. So just as we're wrapping up, wanted to give a shout out and let anybody know if you're interested on being beta testers for our newest service, which is the Nonprofit Executive Starter Package, which is designed for the busy nonprofit executive. It makes it easy to see how your organization is viewed from a donor and funder perspective, and we want to learn how we can help you make that perception better. So if you're interested and you currently do not have a seal of transparency or you have a bronze seal, please email our Director of Marketing, David Mundy, using the email address on this slide, and let him know you're interested. And finally, If you still need help updating your nonprofit profile or have any other questions, please reach out to our profile coach, Madeline Cardos, and she can help you work one-on-one to get you all the way up to platinum. So thank you, Jasmine, and thank you everyone else for your time, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.